Thanks for dropping in for the conclusion to last week's video, and if you are one of my wonderful subscribers, a special thank you to you here. Kind of shakes around a little bit. Just to let you know, you guys keep me making new videos. So let's start off with a quick recap from last week's video, just in case you didn't see it, but it does happen to be over there. This was about my son. My son developed severe headaches at 12 years old, the tender age of 12 years old. They occurred about once a week. They were absolutely debilitating. They were migraine headaches. And when we left off last week, our son had been enduring these headaches for over a year. We were lost because we had no treatment options that had been given to us by our doctors. We had no clear path forward. The doctors we had seen, our pediatrician and a highly recommended neurologist, had left us with no idea what to do next. As parents, we were having many scary questions during this time when we saw our child suffering so much. Would this chronic pain situation that he was dealing with, would it have long-term psychological effects? Would he be able to graduate from high school? Would he be able to go to college? How long would this problem last? Would it be a lifelong problem? What about work someday? What about finding a partner? All of these were questions that hung over us as this nightmare continued. So, lesson number 5. We learned that some doctors don't like to admit that they don't have an answer. Plus, they may not even point you in a direction to find an answer. Frankly, we felt abandoned. We were on our own to figure out a very complex health issue, and quite frankly, it just totally sucked. Now, very quickly, if you think this is an important topic for parents, please tap the thumbs up icon, which means that YouTube will share this video with more parents. That's what that does. And if you like the idea of this channel, please consider subscribing. So, we were kind of lost, not knowing what to do, so we tried some alternative therapies. Here are a few of them. We tried biofeedback. We tried acupuncture, massage therapy, saw a chiropractor. And here's an interesting one, myofascial stimulation and release. We were trying everything that we thought could possibly help. Nothing worked. This headache problem had now been going on for over a year. So it was summertime. We did decide to take a vacation. Now, when we went on vacation, the headache problem came with us. But for the days that were pain-free, all of us, including our son, got some much-needed R&R. But during that vacation, something happened. Being a bit of a nerd, I decided to bring my laptop with me, and I got an interesting email from a friend in another part of the country. She sent an article that she had pulled from a newspaper in which a doctor was talking about childhood headaches. That got my attention. This doctor was a pediatric migraine specialist. When I read that, I just turned those words over in my head. Pediatric migraine specialist. That sounds like the kind of doctor that we needed. And this article discussed our son's situation just about perfectly. I had never heard of a doctor with this specialty. Maybe we had something here that could give us some hope. Now, this doctor wasn't exactly close. He was 500 miles away in Baltimore, Maryland. But I'll tell you, I was ready to get a ticket and board the next flight out in order to go see him. That's how desperate we were at this point. So I called the doctor's office, and because we weren't in the same region of the country, basically, they said at the office that the doctor would call me back and discuss the situation before making an appointment. And the doctor called back the same day. I discussed my son's condition, and this pediatric migraine specialist gave us the first piece of good news we'd had in over a year. And this was pretty unbelievable. He said, there is a specialist in our area who's highly respected and is very good. And his office was only 15 miles from where we lived, right in the same area. We didn't need to travel to Baltimore after all. Sounded very promising. This is where I learned lesson number 6. Solutions and answers may come to you from unexpected sources. In this case, an email from a friend who knew about our son's situation and a newspaper article attached led to us finding the actual pediatric migraine specialist that provided some hope that we might be able to solve this long-standing problem. So we got an appointment with this doctor rather quickly. We got one surprise. This doctor did not accept insurance. Not just our insurance, any insurance. Now, I had heard of doctors like this before that just don't deal with insurance, but here's the bottom line. We had to pay for every visit completely out of pocket. And I'll tell you, it wasn't cheap. So lesson number 7, you might find that a highly qualified specialist that offers the treatment for your child's situation does not accept insurance. If this doctor has the expertise and experience that you believe will help solve the problem, you may have no other choice, just like us, than to pay out of pocket. Now, this may seem strange, but I've heard many stories from other people that I know in which they've been referred to a doctor, and because the copay was too high or they didn't accept the insurance, they won't go to see that specialist. They'll choose somebody else. They won't choose the best specialist because it costs more money. And by the way, these are people that I think could kind of afford to see any doctor they wanted to. So in other words, these people that I'm referring to, they would rather be sick than spend the money out of pocket to get the treatment that might help resolve their problem. I'm just saying this because this has never made any sense to me whatsoever. So stay tuned. We're paying a lot of money. It wasn't that much money, but you'll see how it turned out. So back to our story. At the end of the first appointment, the doctor turned to us and said, "It's clear your son suffers from migraine attacks, and the causes to this sort of condition can be difficult to isolate. However, there are many treatments that we can try. This is what we're going to do. We're going to try one treatment. We're going to give it 3 weeks. If there's no improvement, we're going to move right on to the next treatment, and so on and so on. We're going to keep doing this until we find something that gives us positive results." Well, as you can imagine, we were just holding on to every word when we heard this. This was the first message of hope that we had really gotten. And really, I'd like to say that the doctor took a sort of an ownership of the problem that we were having with our child, his health problem. And it gave us a lot of hope to know that this was his expertise. He had treatment options in the pipeline, things that we knew nothing about, and we were going to try them until we found something that worked. So we were flying high. We were pretty darn hopeful coming out of that appointment. But I had one question that haunted me when I came out of that meeting. Why had it taken us so long, over a year, to get to this point? And why was it that it came from a friend's email that serendipitously led us to the specialist that was only 15 miles away from where we lived? Why wasn't this something that was recommended by some of the physicians that we had seen? It seemed like we had gone through, or our son had gone through, a long, long period of an unnecessary suffering because we just hadn't gotten an answer. So we started on the different therapies that this doctor suggested. And after 2 months, nothing had worked so far. On our 4th visit, our doctor said that a new drug from Ireland had just been approved by the FDA, and he felt it might provide positive results. He had a bunch of samples. He gave us some blister packs, and he said, "Next time a migraine comes, try taking one of these pills and let's see what happens." Well, we didn't have to wait long. That next migraine appeared about 5 days later. Our son was in bed, pain was increasing, nausea was beginning. We punched out a new pill from its blister pack, and he swallowed it down, and he then just crawled into bed. About 40 minutes later, we checked just to see how he was doing, and we heard something that we had never, ever heard before. He said, "I'm actually feeling a little bit better." Another hour went by, and he was up. The migraine was breaking up. Nausea had gone away. Soon he was sitting on the floor building Legos with a friend. We were just absolutely stunned. Could it be that we had finally found the answer that we had hoped for? The early signs were good. Dare we hope? So as the weeks went by, the migraine still continued to appear, but every time one came on, we simply popped a pill out of that blister pack, and that solved the problem. It worked every single time, like magic. Our son's nightmare, our family nightmare, finally subsided over the following weeks as this miracle pill worked wonders. Now, my son is older now, and to my knowledge, hasn't had a migraine in a very long time. So I shared this personal family story for 2 reasons, really. First off, to share some of the things we learned that slowed down our journey to finding a solution to a tough medical problem. The second reason I shared is to offer some hope to others who may have similar complex health issues that they're dealing with. The bottom line for us is that it took a lot of work. It took a lot of research, a lot of visits to clinicians, but finally we found a solution and it ended the nightmare. Now, as promised, I am sharing the best comment that I got on the first video on migraine headaches, and here it goes. This is from Alpha Zeta, KFox 97. Quote, I love this video. I want to become a doctor specializing in something with neurology. I want to help people with difficult problems like this in the future. Now, I just have to say I love this comment. In this crazy world that we're living in, it just gives one hope to hear this sort of viewpoint, and presumably from a young person. And this comment leads me to a little philosophy as well. Now, we don't really cover that on this channel. Maybe we should. But in my view, it kind of sums up the whole question of what is the meaning of life, which, in my view, is helping other people, just doing good things for others. That's the meaning of life, and it provides meaning to life. It's the best reason for living I've ever come up with. If you have something that's different, feel free to comment. But thanks, TailFox97, for that excellent comment. So thanks for watching, and I hope you got several useful things out of this video and the last one. And as I always say, I hope to see you on that next video.